Hello, hi everyone. I'm Rick Kirkham of InHomeTutoringHonolulu.com. As far as I know, I'm the only or one of the very few uh, dual certified teachers. That's my phone. Sorry, I forgot to turn it off. Dual certified teachers um, and in-home academic tutor with ADHD, specializing in students with ADHD. To be clear, I'm just substitute teaching here on Oahu. But I did want to talk with teachers and parents, and let me make something clear right now. Teachers and parents, I am not telling you how to teach. I am not telling you how to parent. I don't want nasty emails or nasty messages. And what do you think you're doing telling me what to do in my classroom? Or what do you think you're doing telling me how to parent my child? No, I don't want any of that. Uh, but I do want to tell you what works for me and kind of how I feel when things happen. Okay, and some of this stuff, especially to you educators out there, is it's going to seem basic, but this basic stuff actually works on us really well. And I know that we're all individuals, so I'm talking in general. But believe it or not, positive feedback is a really good thing. Positive reinforcement and positive feedback are really good things. That means a lot to us because we're always messing up. And I know the neurotypical teachers and the neurotypical parents are just saying, well, just do it this way. Just don't do that. Okay? Sometimes we just have to do it, whatever it is. We just have to do it. We have to blur it out. We have to say it. I'm not on medication because they didn't know what ADHD was back when I was a kid, and I learned how to control mine through martial arts and through starting to recognize my symptoms. And it still gets out once in a while, and I still get in trouble every once in a great while too. But it's like I'm in control. I'm gonna say like 99%. I've learned to do something that everyone with ADHD has learned to do, and it's called masking. Masking means that we act like a neurotypical person. And for me, when I can feel something wanting to come out of my mouth, I'm kind of a smart aleck. Any one of you that's met me knows that I'm kind of a smart aleck. But I hold it in, and I ask myself first, will this contribute to the conversation, or am I just trying to be funny or something? And if I decide it will not contribute to the conversation, I clamp my mouth shut. And if I had a padlock, I'd clamp it down that way. But I clamp my mouth shut. But and you've already noticed, I'm going to go off on tangents, especially since I'm not using a script here. But so far, the positive reinforcement, which you already know, positive feedback. Okay, let me give you a really, really huge example of positive feedback. I had a student who got, I think she was in second grade, but she got 1 out of 10 spelling words correct. I think the parents were, lost my meeting, but I can keep talking. And I think the parents were waiting for me to yell at her. And what I said instead was, well, you really know this one word really well, didn't you? And she smiled and said, yeah. I said, okay, let's work on these other 9 now. And I actually have a fairly decent system for helping people study for spelling tests, and it involves a lot of repetition. Repetition helps. It's not a popular thing anymore for some reason. Everybody, or there's another word for it. They're always changing language in education and probably in everything else. But so positive reinforcement. Teachers and parents try and call our names when we're not in trouble. Okay, some of you are thinking back now and starting to laugh and smile, and others of you are getting mad at me right now going, what do you mean? Yeah, call our names when we're not in trouble. We are so used to people calling our names when we're not in trouble. When I hear to this day, Mom, I love you, hope you're having fun up in heaven. But to this day, if I hear my first and middle name, I straighten up. But yeah, I know that sounds simple, but try to call our names and give us a compliment. Like I said, positive reinforcement. Let's say we got a student named John. Say, John. That's going to be his reaction. John, good job on that paper. I'm proud of you. Wow. I had a kid, I was substitute teaching, and I had a kid tell him that I was proud of him, and I swear, this was in middle school, but he was a big kid, he was a boy, and I swear he was about to start crying. And I know that meant a lot to him. I don't know if very many teachers or his parents said that they were proud of him very often. I actually had a very educated person one time saying, we don't believe in complimenting expected behavior. There's no such thing as expected behavior. There's reinforced behavior, and then there's non-reinforced behavior. Okay? All behavior is like that. Reinforced, not reinforced. It could be reinforced even internally, like we love our dopamines. So if it gives us dopamines, we want to do it. That's being reinforced for us. There's even negative reinforcement. Like spank somebody. Oh no, corporal punishment. Yeah. Parents spanking people, kids, teachers used to spank people. I was at a school one time where they did that, and I never sent a kid back to the office again. But yeah, so reinforced behavior, negative behavior, and now here's the interesting thing too. First off, it's a lot easier to get negative behavior, so that's why we end up being the class clown and things like that. And the other thing is, if there's no attention whatsoever, if we're not getting any reinforcement at all, then we'll act out to get that attention. Okay, and that's one of the things I do when I'm tutoring and when I'm substitute teaching, is I'll give those kids some attention. By now I can almost recognize whether or not they have ADHD, and I give them a little bit of attention. I ask them how things, if they're working on something, I say, hey, how's that going? And I'll ask them a question. One of my favorite teaching techniques that actually concerns parents until I explain it is acting like I don't know an answer. And I think there's an actual educational term for it. It's like a subdivision of the sophist teaching method or something like that. They made it sound fancy, so you don't have to say acting dumb is a great teaching technique. But yeah, I'll ask a kid. I'll show interest, And even if I know what something is, I'll ask that kid what it is. Be, uh, because it will reinforce it. If that student has to explain something to me, then that will reinforce that student's knowledge because he has to think about it or she has to think about it hard enough to be able to explain it to me. So, yeah, I don't, there's not a political, oh, there's probably a politically correct way to say it, but acting dumb. I, one of my greatest teaching techniques, and I think the last time I was tutoring in Y&I, if I remember right, and um, my student's sibling had told the parents, "Oh, the teacher doesn't know this or this. That's not right." And one of the first things I told them was my favorite teaching technique is pretending that I don't know the answer. And they had this look of relief about them. It was kind of funny, really. But yeah, after I had a long ago, I had a parent get upset with me, saying, I heard the questions you were asking him. You don't know what you're doing." I didn't know I was that good of an actor. Um, yeah, so positive reinforcement, positive feedback, call our names once in a while when we're not in trouble, show an interest in what we're doing. Now, I know especially with teachers, you got 30 kids in the classroom, and it's hard to go and show an interest in what little Johnny's doing when you've got 29 other kids to take care of. And I understand if you're not able to do that. Parents, I'm about to say something and don't get mad at me. Monitors do not replace parenting. Okay, nobody said parenting was an easy job. I certainly know it's not an easy job. My son turned 26 this month, and I have two other children uh, living on the mainland. Love you guys, and uh, it's not easy, and there's things I think I had to restrain myself sometime, parenting, to not do things out of anger and to not do things like even out of reflex. It's like, go to your room, you're grounded. Okay, he's not going to know that any better. Go to your room, taking stuff away, all this other stuff. It's not going to make the child any smarter. Okay. Yes, take away our distractions, please, sometimes. But also give us some breaks. Okay, we cannot focus as long as you can. Okay, so let us take a break, but I would time the break. Like for example, with my students, uh, I usually go 1 hour because 1 hour one on one is actually quite a bit of focusing. So I give them a 5 minute break after a half an hour. And one of the things I noticed and I'm going off tangent now. One of the things I noticed when my students are reading, and ADHD can be a potpourri of all kinds of things. And one of the things I notice when my students are reading is sometimes they'll see like the entire page, and they'll just look at the entire page like this, and they won't be able to take it all in. So um, sometimes I'll take paper and I'll put that in front of everything else except for what my student is reading, and that helps. By the way, if I mentioned we're potpourri, and if they're dyslexic and ADHD, from what I researched, I am not an expert in this, but from what I researched, white is the enemy of people with dyslexia. That's why I've ordered, I think they're called Earlin bookmarks for my students, which have a little line on them, and then and then they make the page. You could see through them, but it's a different color. And I had one student one time who ordered lenses for glasses like that, and they really helped him out. He didn't have dyslexia, but the symptoms were the same as dyslexia, so I happened to mention that. I was not giving medical advice. I just said, well, I know this has worked for some people in the past. That's all I said. But yeah, separating, not separating, but closing what they're not supposed to be reading so they don't take it all in at one time. I've also had students tell me when they're reading, like if they read for like a whole minute, then they might start reading, and then they might turn the page and then realize that they don't have the slightest idea what they just read. Okay, so give them breaks, like just read for maybe even just 30 seconds, maybe even less. But read for that given amount of time, and then slowly we're going to build that time up longer and longer. But they should take a break between reading, not some 5-minute break and read every 30 seconds. That's ridiculous. They should just bring their heads up, take a breath, take a drink of water, and then go back to reading. That's all. And use something to keep their place and to hide the rest of the text. Let's talk about math a little bit. With my ADHD, I have trouble remembering numbers. So I look at the patterns. I did a video on how we can remember numbers and by looking at the patterns. And I've actually gotten real good with it. I impressed one of my tutoring students' father one time. But since we can't remember numbers, we need to look at the pattern and then try to understand it. We have an enhanced ability to see patterns. I use it all the time. So I've probably gotten good at it. I'm like, pattern man. Anyway. But yeah. If the student is having trouble with math and it involves a formula or something like that, help the student to understand it by seeing the pattern. Okay, so I use patterns all the time. I think he was 14 when I started with him, and he had never done a multiplication table before. And he was looking at all these numbers and everything. I said, quit looking at the numbers and look for the patterns. And he got so excited. He said, hey, I found another pattern. Here's another one. Here's another one. I think he might have been better looking for patterns than I was. But, that was it. He started hyper-focusing. And that's one of our talents. I've trained myself behaviorally that if I listen to music, then I end up hyper-focusing on whatever I'm focusing on. And an hour or two might come, not an hour or two, I'll get hungry or thirsty. I'll come out of it and go, oh, okay. Hey, I'm done with what I was doing. Yay, all right. In my case, it's usually writing some kind of program. But anyway, so math, patterns. I taught math for a couple of years, and I used to talk about the secret ninja invisible one in front of all variables, and I do a martial art move while I was talking about it. That was entertaining to my students, and I do that when I tutor too, and they think I'm nuts sometimes. But they do. Most of the parents seem to appreciate the fact that I can relate to their child with ADHD. And teachers, I don't know how much of this you're getting, how much of this you already know. But yeah, we can't help it all the time. Sometimes, sometimes telling us to sit down, it's almost impossible for us to sit down. Uh, but, even if we're sitting down and if we're quiet for 10 seconds, maybe you can call our name and say, hey, appreciate how quiet you are in that chair. Good job. Oh, thank you. Now we got the dopamine version in there, so it's like, hey, I'm going to keep sitting here like this. All right. It doesn't always work that way. Teachers, you know that. But just some thoughts. Positive reinforcement, positive feedback. Uh, Calling our names when we're not in trouble. Not replacing parenting with devices. Once again, don't get mad at me for that. Some of you have just asked yourself, "Am I doing that?" And you know what? The ones that asked you that asked yourself if you're doing that or not, you're probably really good parents because you have an open mind about wanting to improve your parenting to an even greater degree than what it is now. Okay. Now here's another little trick I have. I use the word even a lot because let's say if I'm talking to, let's say if you're a parent, I'm talking to you and saying, "Whoa, I can teach you how to be a better parent." Now, what's going to happen now if they don't slug me? Then the first thing they're going to do is go, well, I think I'm already a good parent. Thank you. And then they're not going to be wanting to listen to anything I say. But if I say, hey, I think I think I have some ideas that might make you an even better parent. So the word even keeps me out of trouble a lot. And teachers, parents, maybe it'll keep you out of trouble too. I don't know, but it does. It helps me. But uh, anyway, that's all I can think of. Once again, I didn't have a script here or anything like this, but I did want to do this video. I don't know how much it's going to help these little bitty things that I found that really help. Um, you know what else? Don't. I'm not. I'm probably not going to say this right, but don't look for us to get into trouble. Okay. Teachers, parents, you know that the student has ADHD, and instead of just waiting for them to get in trouble so that they can call their name, why not call their name before they get in trouble and ask uh, how things are going today, or or give them something to do, give them a responsibility. Well, just once again, these are just thoughts, and based on my own experience with tutoring, and I hope it helps. I hope I didn't offend anyone, but you know, if I did, I did. I wanted to share this, and I felt it was important enough. And sorry it wasn't scripted. I wanted this to come from my head. So I guess that's it. So I will see you all in the classroom sometime, or I will see you at your homes when I tutor your child, if you're on Oahu. Other than that, uh, have a great rest of the day. God bless you. Aloha.